obvious, 10 seconds ago, that was a completely different universe. This is a completely new reality. This is a completely new reality. This is a completely new reality. And so what does that do to the idea of time? It actually makes it malleable, it makes it yours. It makes it influenceable, instead of this static, projected, externalized idea that you are somehow a victim of. Suddenly time as an actual linear idea starts to seize in your mind, in your consciousness. And when a certain belief system starts to seize in your mind, then all the limitations that came with that belief system start to seize for your experience. So the more fully you understand this, the more fully you will be able to influence time, because the more fully you'll be able to totally experience and know and see how reality is actually structured, how it actually works. And when you see very clearly how it works, you can start to actually using the consciousness that is already master of your universe anyway. You can start utilizing that more consciously to generate certain results or effects, if you so desire, if that is relevant for you. So time literally does not exist, because every reality is completely timeless. It exists with no time. Every potential one-moment experience, one complete snapshot of the universe, exists eternally, has always already been there, will always be there. So your reality does not change. You shift into different realities. Therefore you generate the experience of change, the experience of time. But time is only an experience. It's not a mechanical, structural fact. Does this difference make sense? Can you see how time is subjective? It's not actually objective. And when you realize time is subjective, interesting things start to happen. We could just generally call that acceleration. It's the acceleration of your understanding of who you are, of the power that you are, the consciousness that you are. And you start to embody these ideas much more. You start to embody the power of consciousness much more, and you'll be able to actually influence, in that sense, the time frame, or the, not so much the time frame, but the reality that you choose to experience next for yourself. So if you understand, reality consists of individual times. And one way to visualize this is to imagine a floor. Just imagine this floor being absolutely blank, absolutely empty, except for pictures. So there's endless rows of pictures filling up this room. So everywhere you look, there's a picture. Now if you start at the top left corner of the room, of the floor, you see the picture of your birth. And if you go all the way back to the picture in the down right corner of the room, you see the picture illustrating your death, and everything in between there. If you realize that this is the way reality operates, you can start to make changes. You can start to make changes to your past. You can start to make changes to your future. You can start to therefore experience a different present. Why? Because you realize that the present is the key to experiencing time in the way you wish to experience it. Because what is the present? If all pictures already exist, if all potential possible configurations of energy already exist, then there's no time in that. There's no choice in that. There's no freedom in that. The freedom lies in the present. Which is the present? What is the present moment? If everything already exists, future already exists, past already exists, then what is the present? The present is you. You are the present. You are the now. Your consciousness is now, is it not? That is all that's ever going to be now. The reality you experience right now already existed 100 trillion billion years ago. That's right, this conversation already took place. In fact, it's happening still, and tomorrow it will still be happening. That is because consciousness, essentially, on its most fundamental level, which again is not relevant for most people to experience, nevertheless it's the truth, there is no time whatsoever. So in a sense, the Big Bang, what the Big Bang is the explosion that caused all possible realities that could ever potentially be created to be created at an instant, at once. Everything was created at once. You're not actually creating anything new in terms of a new configuration of energy. If you build a sandcastle in a particular way, it may be beautiful, we could call it art, and it is, but you're not creating something that did not exist before. What you're doing, though, is you're generating a new relationship with the structure that already existed in your future, and you have now made that manifest in your now. Again, what is the now? The now is your consciousness. So what does it mean to manifest your reality from this point of view? To manifest your reality simply means to shift your consciousness to a vibration where it will let the picture fall into the projector screen. You know these old picture slides? You know those diagram, how do you call those things? You know those tiny little things and you go like, just slides? Okay, cool. So, and you allow a different slide to fall into your projector beam. So every time you change your state of being, you will start to see significant changes in the slides that fall into the slot of your projector, of your consciousness. The slides already existed. Just because you made one manifest now and you removed the other one does not mean the other one does not exist. Because you see, you cannot take anything away from existence. You can't take something out of existence. And you can't similarly place something into existence, because where would it come from? So everything that can ever exist already exists, cannot be removed, and cannot be added to. Everything you can come up with that you think you could add to existence has already been thought of at the moment of the Big Bang and has already been created. Now this Big Bang thing is just a symbol. So you can't remove anything from existence. That includes your past experiences. That includes all other possible past experiences that you chose not to have, which is infinite. There's endless different pasts that belong to you in a sense, or could have belonged to you. They still exist as well. Your past still exists as well. You cannot take a potential reality, a potential manifestation of energy away from the universe. You can't do that. You see, so structurally speaking, there is no time. Nothing new is ever created. Everything that can exist already does exist. Not only everything that can happen will happen, but everything that can exist already does exist and will always exist. Anything that can exist will always already exist. So knowing this, your sense of time starts to become a little warpy, a little weird, because it takes all human perspective away, everything you're used to in that sense. But it opens you up to a way more empowered way of actually living your life, a more divine way of living your life, a more empowered, conscious way to live your life and influence what we call the experience of time. So when you change the frequency of your light, of your consciousness, of your now, of the present moment, and for lack of a better word, we could call that your vibrational attitude. So just very briefly, your vibrational attitude is simply how you view yourself in any given moment, how you experience life in any given moment, how you experience yourself, what your state of being is like, what you are in a sense emitting, the energy, the frequency of your being, the state of your consciousness. That is your vibrational attitude. We all know this, we all constantly have a vibrational attitude. That's why we constantly generate a particular slide out of the field of all that is, to fall into our particular slot of I am consciousness. Our particular view of reality is now filled with a particular slide because we were vibrating at a certain speed of consciousness, at a certain rate of energy. And everything that we perceive always matches our frequency. Because in that sense, physical reality is just like a mirror. It doesn't actually do anything to you. It's not actually set in stone for you. All it ever does is reflect you all the time, all the time, all the time. It's reflecting you. It's mirroring your state of being, your vibrational attitude, your consciousness. Your particular configuration of consciousness turns into a particular configuration of experience, or reality, or perception. Does this make sense so far? Yes? Awesome. So how do you influence time? Well, you don't actually influence time because time does not exist. So it's just a way of saying, how do you shift into an alternate universe? How do you more consciously shift into a parallel reality? Because, remember, you're already doing this right now, otherwise you could not hear my voice move from the first letter of my sentence to the last letter of my sentence. You would be stuck at one letter, at one thing. So all the time you are creating your reality, you are shifting from one reality to one reality, to one configuration of energy, to one configuration of the universe, to one potential creation. You're constantly doing this on automatic pilot. It's great, it's fantastic. It allows you to be the victim of your own creation so that you can have the subjective experience of the illusion of time, the illusion of a particular personal theme that goes from A to Z. But in reality, you are generating that for yourself. You are creating that. It's not actually the case. There's not just one life that you can live, that you are living. You're not stuck in this one life. You never have been. There's infinite parallel lives that look very similar, and there's infinite parallel lives that look nothing like who you are today. And my intention is to help you understand that you can become therefore anything you desire to become. And you are not stuck in the conditioned reality that you have been given by your previous choices and your previous creations. You can understand this principle to such an extent that 6 months from now, if you start to, even if this is the first time you hear about this principle, 6 months from now, even sooner, but I'll be liberal just so that you start to believe a little bit of what I'm saying, because I notice there's a lot of new people today. If you truly understand this principle and you start practicing what I'm sharing, 6 months from now, you will not recognize yourself. I guarantee you. You will not be able to recognize yourself. You will look back upon pictures, you'll maybe see a video of yourself, and you'll be like, oh, who's that guy? Who's that person? What do they have to say? You'll start forgetting things, which is a good thing, by the way, because it allows for so much space for new things, you see. It doesn't mean that you actually necessarily forget things. If someone brings up a memory, you can still tap into that. Perhaps sometimes not, depending on how distant that reality is to your present frequency of being. But in general, you start to simply become more slippery. You start to become more empty, more free, more available for your present now to become whatever you desire it to become. You stop living in the illusion of a linear reality that has a given past and a given future, and you start waking up to the fact that there is no time, there only is now, and that you can insert into the field of now whatever vibratory pattern you wish to insert, whatever vibrational attitude you wish to carry yourself with. And then as you start doing that, you start to see that reality warps around you, not the other way around. You are in that sense a God, you are in that sense a creator. You are not a victim, you are not a slave, you are not a beggar. You have created this reality already. I'm not teaching you anything new. Again, if you did not already perfectly know how to do this, you would not be able to follow this conversation. You'd be stuck in time, in one moment in time. But effortlessly so, you choose, alongside with me and all the people here, to generate some sort of a consensus parallel reality, and we're all moving because our frequencies, our alignment is in alignment. Our vibrations are similar enough to where we can generate the illusion of a consensus reality that moves from the start of this meeting to the end of this meeting 2 hours later. All the while, all that's happening is that we're now, and we're projecting a different image and a different image into the now, into the now, into the now, into the now. And we're picking our images out of a field of infinite parallel probable realities. This is the one you chose. In another one, I'm saying something else to you right now. But you chose this particular one because it's relevant for you. Now, I'm not saying that you're doing this with your conscious brain self. You can more and more participate, co-create with your brain self, with your, in a sense, lower consciousness, shall we say, or person consciousness, or I am here now consciousness. But for most people, this has been given away completely to, quote-unquote, their higher self, their higher consciousness. Consciousness has infinite levels as